Hello everyone, welcome to Marketing Research. My name is Erlinde Cornelis. I'm an Associate Professor of Marketing at SDSU. This is my office and I'm going to introduce you to this course. So first, a little bit of background information on who I am, because I know online classes can be a little bit impersonal sometimes. So it's probably good to know that it's not a robot recording all these classes for you. It's actually me. And you probably wonder where I'm from, why I have an accent. I was actually born and raised in Belgium, tiny country known for its really good chocolate, waffles, fries, mussels, beer, all the good stuff. And sometimes people ask why I ever even left, but I definitely visit every summer. So yeah, Belgium is in the middle of Europe. I don't know if any of you have ever gotten a chance to go there. It's pretty cool, medieval castles. I did my PhD at Ghent University, Belgium. First, I actually studied political and social sciences in my undergrad, and then for my master's, I did communication sciences, and then moved on to a PhD also at Ghent University. The city actually still looks like this today, so just a little bit of a tourism plug in here. It's really gorgeous there. I came to the United States for a postdoc, which is research that you do after completing a PhD. That was in 2013. I was 26 years old and didn't know anyone in the United States when I first moved here. My husband came a couple of months later. I've been in the US for almost a decade now. Definitely love it. And my day-to-day as a professor really is very versatile. Sometimes people don't really know what my job entails, so I do teaching, advising, and research. So the teaching part of my job really consists mainly of teaching marketing research to undergrads, sports and society in the Sports MBA program, which is a course I developed specifically about societal issues in sports. Think of racial justice issues, gender pay gap, social justice, income inequality, and so on in the sports industry. And then sustainable marketing, which is the newest course I developed to discuss social and environmental issues and how businesses and consumers can be part of the solution. I teach this course in person, and it is entirely project-based, so experiential learning, in which the students do a sustainable business consulting project with real companies. So in terms of advising, I serve as the co-PI for SEEN, that is an incubator. It stands for Southern California Energy Innovation Network, and I know that's a mouthful, but basically in simple terms, it's an incubator helping clean tech startups, so startups that work on technical innovations in the renewable energy industry to help them commercialize. This is a large project funded by the California Energy Commission. In addition, I serve as the advisor for two student organizations on campus. First of all, the Enviro Business Society, or E3, which is really awesome in case you're interested in the overlap between business and the environment. Really recommend you check out that student org. Maybe you can join them and get involved. And then secondly, also, I serve as the co-advisor for Business for Social Good, which is a fairly new student organization that really focuses on businesses that do good in this world. In addition, I'm on the Senate Sustainability Committee, so you can already tell that I'm pretty involved in sustainable initiatives on and off campus. And then besides teaching and advising, a big part of my job is research. So I work on sustainability topics, both from a consumer and a business perspective. And my theoretical background is in resistance to persuasion. Think of, for example, peer pressure, social influence, ambivalence. So when people hold ambivalent attitudes towards something, and two-sidedness. Now, of course, there's also a person behind the professor. So in my free time, I love spending time outdoors, climbing, hiking, camping, running, biking, yoga, you name it. I'm really active outdoors. And sustainability is not only a focus in my professional life, it also really seeps into my personal life. I'm very interested in social, environmental, and economic justice and how these issues are intertwined with one another. And then lastly, I'm very passionate about food. I love both the production side as well as the consumption side of food, aka I love to make food, I love to eat food, and most of my day revolves around thinking what's the next thing I want to make or eat. And then there's tons of other funny, quirky little things that you will get to know about me over the course of the semester. I'm pretty geeky sometimes. I want to get to know you as well, so I sent out a survey. It's actually included on Canvas, so I want you to complete that survey, give me some information about yourself so I can get to know you. Even though the classes are not in person, I really do care about who's taking my classes, what you're going through in life, what your passions and hobbies are, what you're interested in, what your career perspectives are, so I can help you better in this learning process. So please complete that survey. Let me know what you're thinking, what you're doing. And let's get to know each other. Next, I'm going to discuss some practical stuff regarding this class. The first thing you need to know is that Canvas is the place to be for everything. So everything will be uploaded on Canvas, so you find everything there. The syllabus is the blueprint of this course, so read it well. There is a syllabus quiz. It's not high stakes, but do read the syllabus, take the quiz to earn some participation points. And then lastly, the class schedule is the roadmap you need for the semester. There might be some minor changes in the class schedule, but probably not. It's very structured, and you'll see it gives you very clear information on what is due when, and also how much time each of these tasks will take. So I'll walk you through the entire semester. I'll be with you all along. Even though I'm not face-to-face with you, I will actually be behind the scenes to help you through this process. So this is what Canvas will look like on your end. So what you will see on the left side is all these different tabs, such as, for example, modules. Under modules, you will find each week's module, and there will be one module per week that gets released. You also have assignments, which is where you'll find all the assignments. It varies per week, but you'll see in the class schedule what is due when. There's an optional discussions tab where you'll find discussions and Q&A. Under pages, you find tons of extra interesting stuff. I post information about the group project, I post SPSS stuff, I post job and internship opportunities and so on. So definitely take a look at the pages as well. People is where you'll find an opportunity to actually sign up for the group project. So you'll find the groups there. Pretty important as well, because you will be working on a semester-long group project for this course. The home page has your syllabus and class schedule for this course as well. These are just so incredibly important. Definitely check them frequently. In the right corner, you will see a summary of what's coming up. So basically the due dates for all of the assignments that are coming up. And you can also sync the course calendar with your own Google Calendar if you want to. I recommend doing that so you definitely don't forget anything, but if you're diligent about going to Canvas frequently and checking the class schedule, that works fine as well. So the thing with an online class is that it does take more independence and more autonomy from you, gives you freedom, gives you flexibility, but it's really on you to stay on point. So this is what the class schedule will look like. On the left side, you see each of the modules. So like I said, there is one module per week. And I always indicate how hard or how easy each module is. Most of them are very, very doable. Some are a little harder, so make sure to allocate a little more time for those. Maybe watch a recorded video twice or 3 times if you feel like you need it. The modules always get released on Monday mornings. So by every Monday morning, typically by the time you wake up, depending on how early you are, you'll get the class module for that week. So you can start working through the content during that week, and the due dates, as you can tell, are always on Sunday by midnight, so consistently. So there's never any other due dates unless there's something really urgent coming up, but typically every due date is always Sunday by midnight. So you always have 1 week to work through the content. So in this column, you can see what is on the menu for that week's module, so what each module entails, and then next, you will see what is due for each module. So basically your to-do list for that module. The time that it takes approximately to complete each of these tasks, how many participation points it's worth, and then lastly, the deadline, like I said. So it's very straightforward, but if you do have any questions, definitely reach out to me or my assistant. The evaluation for this course will be both individual as well as group evaluation. So the group component of this course will consist of a very large group project that you do throughout the semester. So you work with the same group from beginning to end, conducting a marketing research project, and that consists of 30% of your final grade. Now, my role as an instructor is not very authoritarian. I don't see my role that way. I see myself as a mentor to help you through this learning process. I'm helping you learn. That is my role. I'm not the one to micromanage. I mean, since you're all close to graduation, you all have the autonomy and the responsibility to actually take care of what's due yourself, but I do follow you as a coach. So definitely do see me as a coach. Reach out to me if you have any questions. Mutual respect, I think, is the basis for the best relationships. And I think if you respect me and I respect you very much and the individual differences between all of you, I think this is going to be a great semester and a good learning experience. So the student learning outcomes for Marketing for 70, because you probably want to know what you will learn by the end of the semester. First of all, you'll need to know what marketing research is, what kinds of information it can provide, and how it can be used by marketing management. So for example, let's say you encounter a problem in real life and you wonder, hey, how are we going to solve this? What kind of information do I need to solve this problem? This is marketing research. Let me give you a concrete example. So let's say you want to open a bar, let's say a cocktail bar in South Park, San Diego, and you wonder what kind of drinks people like, and you start gathering information from people to put those drinks on the menu, really do your market research to make sure you have a good offering of beverages. But then suddenly sales go down, you notice that less and less people are coming to your bar. What could be the underlying issue of that? Could it be lack of advertising? Could it be your staff or your employees who are just not well trained? Could there be competition? Maybe a new bar opened just close by and is actually stealing a lot of your customers. Maybe your location sucks. Maybe it's the branding. Maybe it's the product itself. Maybe your cocktails just are not good at all. Maybe there's changing regulations. Maybe there's a new prohibition and you just can't sell alcohol that easily anymore. Maybe there's other changes in society, such as, for example, a pandemic. So all of these things could be at the cause of your decline in sales. So to find out which it is, you want to do marketing research to start eliminating potential causes of the problem and drill down to the root cause so you know what you need to fix. Now, to conduct that research, there's different methods you can take, and each of their strengths and weaknesses. So in this course, I'm going to go over a couple different research methods. The main ones, such as experimental design, survey methods, interviews, focus groups, and so on. And each of these can help you gather that information you need as input for decision making. In addition to that, there will be different types of measurement techniques. So you could measure different opinions, attitudes, feelings, or even objective measures in different ways. You could, for example, do a survey where you ask questions literally with multiple choice, multiple answers or open answers. There's so many different ways of measuring what people think and feel. You could honestly even put electrodes on their body and measure their physiological reactions to how they're thinking or feeling when they're consuming your cocktail, in the example of the cocktail bar. So all of these different measurement techniques are part of research as well. Now, once you gathered all that data, what are you going to do with it if you can't even analyze it? So I'm going to teach you how to analyze the data that you obtain through marketing research using SPSS. Some of these analyses you could run in Excel as well, but most of them are best fit for SPSS. So I will teach you how to work with that program. Lastly, you will write a marketing research report and make an oral presentation of the research results. And in that report, you will have to draw relevant conclusions and recommendations based on the interpretation of your results. So if we circle back to the example of the cocktail bar, you will need to make conclusions and recommendations on what could be done to improve sales in a suddenly declining cocktail bar. So that's just one specific example of what you can do with marketing research, but there's so many different applications. So my best advice to get through this class successfully is, first of all, do not procrastinate. Procrastination really sucks because it leads to a very crammed and stressful situation at the end, and you just simply cannot conduct marketing research in a week's time, right before a deadline. So for that reason, I implemented different intermediate deadlines throughout the semester for the group project that will help you check in with me on how far you are basically in the project. I can give you feedback along the way, and this way you'll get to improve your project before it's finally due. So I will really help you at these intermediate steps along the way, and this will help hold you accountable. Now, second thing I really think is the best advice that I was ever given is that focus is the new IQ. Focus is even more important than pure intelligence, because in today's society, we're constantly being distracted by things. So every little spare moment we have gets filled up by checking our phones. We have a very short attention span, and that just doesn't lead to optimal creativity. So for creativity to to really flourish, you need extended periods of time of concentration. You need longer stretches of time where you can actually dive into something and focus on something new. So really try to be mindful, get rid of certain distractions, and this is extra hard when you're taking a class remotely, but honestly, it's all about self-discipline. So really try to focus. When you focus, like work hard, play hard, and then get your distraction afterwards, but really try to focus because that's way more efficient. You'll get much more done. And then lastly, fun really depends on your attitude. So again, circling back to mindfulness, I don't know if you're familiar with cognitive behavioral therapy, but the way you think really leads to how you feel. So if you have a positive attitude and you really make the best of things, you'll actually feel better and enjoy it more. So enjoy life, live in the moment, because life is happening here and now. Oh, and on that note, pick a project that you really care about. Pick something you like to work on, because that'll make it much more enjoyable throughout the semester. I've seen students in the past years work on various projects, and they've actually really enjoyed working on them. Now, why even bother doing marketing research or learning about marketing research? So, first of all, marketing research is the fastest growing job area in marketing. It's also the best paid entry salary. It's also one of the jobs that allows you most to work remotely. So it's one of the most flexible positions you can have as well. And there's enormous opportunity because every industry needs some form of marketing research. So whether a company is small or large, or whether you actually work for a marketing research company, the analytical mindset that marketing researchers bring to the table is actually super useful in various industries. So if you feel like you're an explorer, you love discovery, you like questioning things and investigating things, you're really at the right starting point for being a good market researcher. Because, I mean, whether you consider yourself Dora the Explorer or Indiana Jones or whatever other famous investigator, it's really awesome and almost fantasy-like to dive into a project, a problem, and explore it, really get to know it, ask questions, and dig into it. Because all of this exploration leads to consumer insights. It leads to a deeper understanding. It leads to knowledge. And this knowledge, this insight that you gain will ultimately lead to problem solving, to innovation, to data-driven decision making, and to solutions. So if all of these things are your jam, you're literally on track to be a really good marketing researcher, because these are the traits you need for that job. It all really starts with the question, what does the world need? If you look around you and you see various issues, gaps, products that should exist but don't exist, products that malfunction, services that should be there but aren't there, there's enough things to focus on in the world. If you just even if you just read the news, you can come up with ideas of like, hey, why does that not even exist? Or how is that not happening? Or how can we optimize a certain existing service or product? What does the world really lack at the moment? And this is a starting point of good market research, because this allows you to actually come up with innovation. Now, in order to do so, you need to be able to read data. You need to understand where the market is headed, what consumers are thinking and feeling, what the mindset is, what cultural shifts are over time, and so on. And the best insight we have is data. So currently, of course, there's data on pretty much everything. So let's say in this case, for example, BLM viewership in the wake of George Floyd's death, you see that there's a massive spike in viewership. What does this mean? How do you interpret that data? Is there something that changed in a population? Is there something that is growing, a greater awareness? What can we do with that information? Can we leverage this data to actually come up with solutions? Jeff Bezos once said, customers are always beautifully, wonderfully dissatisfied. Now, what do you think he means with that? It literally means that the fact that customers have this openness about their dissatisfaction is a gift, because it gives you input on what you should do differently. If people are critically thinking and consumers give you that input, often voluntarily, for example, by means of Yelp reviews, you could actually use that information as input for decision making. What decisions do you make based on data? This is one review of GoPro. GoPro generally very well received among consumers, excellent product. But in this case, there's a negative review. What do you do with that? Do you go kind of in defense mode, or do you use this data, take it to heart, and see how you can improve the product based on the feedback you've been given voluntarily by a customer? This is all market research. Now, of course, if you don't listen to consumers, it often leads to product fails. And there's various product fails that happen throughout history that are worth pointing out. Some of them you might have never heard of either because they're from long before your time, or simply because they were taken off the market so quickly after launching because they were such a failure. Think of, for example, Cheetos lip balm. Who on earth would want that? Now, on the other hand, if you do proper market research and you understand the needs of society, the needs of consumers, the wants and the drive and the aspirations of people, you can come up with huge product successes. You can actually tap into the mind of consumers and create something of value to them. Think of, for example, brands like Patagonia, who create outdoor gear, outdoor clothing that is very sustainable. That's because people have a growing awareness of sustainability of the fashion industry, or the lack of sustainability in the fashion industry, and demand more of these products. Or, for example, the growing population that eats less meat. As you all may know by now, meat is one of the major contributors to climate change, meat and dairy consumption, meat and dairy production. So therefore, companies coming up with alternatives that are really tasty but have a much lower ecological footprint are definitely offering value to consumers. And then, of course, there's the electrification of vehicles. Think of electric bikes, electric cars, and so on. There's virtually no car manufacturer anymore who does not get into the market of electric vehicles. So all of these are clear examples of product successes. Now, what is marketing research really? We start from the marketing concept. You've taken marketing intro classes. You know what marketing is. Marketing really is the idea of, as a group, as a company, creating that win-win long-term philosophy of analyzing consumers' needs, satisfying consumers' needs, and it's an integral part of the marketing plan. It really is pervasive throughout the company. How can we be customer-centric? Now, if you really want to be customer-centric, you need to do research and understand them, right? You have to understand customer needs. So there's a difference between the marketing concept, which is the blue arrow, and the selling concept as the purple arrow, because with sales, your starting point is the factory. With marketing, your starting point is the market. So you listen to consumers first and then create profits through customer satisfaction, whereas with sales, you create profits through sales volume. Now, you do need both in a company. A sales department and a marketing department really work closely together. You do need both. But in this class, we really focus on the marketing concept. In many cases, it almost evolved into some sort of co-creation where consumers have such a strong say in what companies are doing that it becomes more of a co-creative project in a way. Think of, for example, Kickstarter and all the other various crowdfunding platforms that allow consumers to have an actual say and vote with their dollars on which companies are going to make it, what improvements they should make, and so on. But there's many other examples in the past as well where consumers have had a very big impact in what companies do. Think of, for example, Nestle, who a couple years back removed palm oil from their ingredients just because consumers demanded more environmentally friendly practices. The extraction of palm oil caused habitat loss for orangutans in mostly Indonesia, where the palm oil was sourced. And this led to massive consumer protests about it, and Nestle actually heard it, listened, and removed palm oil from their products. This is necessary. It is a big change to change or to adapt your production line, but if you don't do it, if you ignore what the market is saying, you're basically committing suicide as a brand. Same happens for influencers. You see these polls and these interactive tools on Instagram all the time. That's influencers trying to hear from the market, hear from their audience about what their next post should be. Now you understand why the marketing concept ultimately leads to marketing research. Unavoidable. You need to do research to meet consumer demand. Now, research in itself is kind of that intermediate piece that leads further to the marketing strategy. Strategy is selecting a segment of the market as the company's target market or beachhead market, and then designing optimal 4Ps to actually meet the demands and needs of that market. So this is entirely driven by information, by data. You make decisions based on data. Those are the most sound decisions. So marketing research in a nutshell is really the process of designing, gathering, analyzing, and reporting information that can be used to solve a specific marketing problem. And this is also what you're going to do in your project for this semester. Your marketing research project from beginning to end will entail coming up with a research issue, a research question, something you want to investigate. Then you collect your own data, you design your data collection tools, you analyze that data, and you end up with a report that actually answers your research question and gives information and recommendations about what's the next step to do. So basically, what's the strategy to take? Finally, I want to give you some insight into all the different types of marketing research and different purposes that there are. A major stream of marketing research looks to identify marketing opportunities and problems. Examples of these are market demand determination, market segments identification, and marketing audits or SWOT analyses. So they all look at what marketing opportunities and issues are. Another major stream of marketing research looks to generate and refine and evaluate marketing actions. So think of, for example, marketing mix evaluation or testing of the 4 Ps, advertising pre-testing. So you want to pre-test an ad to see how it's received among consumers before you launch it in a larger market, and new product prototype testing. Think of, for example, alpha and beta testing of new products. How are they going to perform technically? How are consumers going to use them, and so on. Then there's a stream of research focusing on monitoring marketing performance, and this is more of a stagnant type of marketing research that constantly keeps track of what is happening with a brand. As you know, a brand is not stagnant in itself. It changes over time, so research needs to be constantly performed to keep an eye on what's happening or what consumers do with your brand. So image analysis is a really important one, tracking studies to track your own performance metrics, and then of course customer satisfaction studies that are typically done every once in a while to see how consumers still like you. One example of image analysis is Abercrombie and Fitch video, where one consumer completely trashes the brand, and of course as a brand you need to be aware of how the identity or the perception of your brand has changed over time, so you can at least be on top of it, right, and respond accordingly. And then lastly, there's a stream of marketing research to improve marketing as a process. And this is the type of research that is not done commercially for a specific company, but rather to expand the knowledge of marketing as a process rather than one specific issue. So this is called basic research because it really applies to all sorts of different companies. If they want to read this research and use the results for their own benefit, they can. But these types of researchers are typically academics that do not get paid by the industry to work for them. And as a result, there's also no bias. So today's takeaways are, first of all, check Canvas all the time. You're going to need it. It's your go-to place for everything. Secondly, marketing research leads to very diverse career paths. So regardless of the industry you're interested in, there's going to be some analytics or research involved. So it's really good to master that. And then third, contact me if you have any questions whatsoever. I'll be with you throughout the whole semester. I'll be in the background, so definitely reach out if something is not clear. Okay, thank you. Bye.